Hello and welcome to Newsbreakers here on fios1 News. I'm Andrew Whitman. This weekend, it's an all-interview special edition of our program. Later on, we spend some time with three fascinating Hudson Valley personalities. But first, medical marijuana. New York's newest medicine is set to roll out next year, and the state deadline for firms to submit their proposals for both manufacturing and dispensing passed a few weeks ago. But the realities of what will happen may be far different from what you're thinking. No open-air farms, no smoking. The system will look a lot more like how drug companies and pharmacies work, and a lot less like California, Colorado, or Amsterdam. To learn more about the realities of medical marijuana in the Hudson Valley, I recently sat down with Eric Holling and Eileen Konieczny of Valley Agroceuticals and their proposal to manufacture medical marijuana products in Wallkill and distribute those products across our region. Eileen Konieczny and Eric Holling, welcome to Newsbreakers. You're with Valley Agroceuticals. Agroceuticals, a word that I had not heard before, but I assume that's a blending of pharmaceutical and agriculture?
Absolutely correct.
Which speaks to kind of the mission of what you're working on. Your proposal includes a 70-acre site in Wallkill. Groundbreaking has already happened. Tell me a little bit more about that site and about the proposal overall. How many people will be working there? Economic impact, that sort of thing.
Sure, it's actually 139 acres.
Well, I got
is actually what it is, and we're building a 100,000 square foot facility on that piece of land. We've actually, and that's going to be a combination of greenhouse and manufacturing house or barn, and it's going to look like a barn actually as well. So it blends in with the environment too. We're actually, of that 139 acres, we're actually going to be conserving approximately 3/4 of that back to the town as well, to keep the open spaces, because that's important to us and important to the town.
How many people do you plan on employing?
Between 100 and 150 at full full growth.
Do you have an idea what the economic impact to Wallkill would be?
Well, it's actually to the county. So there's a 7% excise tax that's involved with all the sales of the medical cannabis. And so of that 7%, 22.5% goes to the manufacturing facility county, and then 22.5% goes to the 4 counties where the dispensaries are. So they'll be getting that, and then obviously tax, real estate taxes as well, and then we'll be doing a living wage and hiring locally for the majority of our jobs.
And under the Compassionate Care Act in New York State, the company that produces and manufactures the product is also responsible for dispensing the product. So you have dispensary locations that are part of your proposal as well, correct?
That's correct. On a proposal that we sent in a few weeks ago, it was we have Manhattan, Westchester, actually Harrison specifically, Albany, and Rochester. And so we could be geographically dispersed.
What's been the reception in the communities where either you would have the manufacturing, that being in Wallkill, or the dispensary sites? Have you gotten a sense of what the neighborhood reaction is, and whether there's any NIMBY, not in my backyard, blowback coming from any of those locales?
It's actually been overwhelmingly supportive.
Really?
And in fact, in Wallkill, we went through a significant vetting process from the town, which we appreciated. And at the end of our town meeting, where we were able to educate people, or multiple town meetings actually, we were able to educate people as to what we're producing here, which is not what you see in other states. This is a medicine. This is in pills and in oils. It's no leaf product, no edibles. So it's not what people think that it's supposed to be. It's actually like any other medicine, like Tylenol. And so once they understand that, then they're all on board, and especially, as we tell them what the facility is going to look like and feel like. And with the dispensaries, it's going to be like a doctor's office.
Eileen, you're both a registered nurse and the director of patient services for Valley Agroceuticals. Yes. The difference between the oils that are allowed under the New York program versus the edibles or the smokables that people might have seen elsewhere, what's the difference in terms of patient care and what it means for the individuals?
Well, so under the New York regulations, the standardized dose is the most important piece, and so in order to do that well and get that dialed down to where it should be, that's the most important, and
a standardized dose, you mean so that it's going to be X number of milligrams
always
of active medicine for every time you take a drop or every...
Correct. And so when you find a medicine that works for you, you want to always know that you can access that medicine, similar to Tylenol. Mm-hmm. So you always, when you take Tylenol, you always expect it to be Tylenol. So that's what this regulation does, and that's the type of products that we'll be making.
Has that been one of the concern in other states where medical marijuana has been approved, that you know, with smoking or with edibles, you don't necessarily know what you're getting all of the time in terms of the amount or the effect or something like that?
Well, yes, and I know patients who had success with certain strains and from some particular growers, and then all of a sudden they lost their crop, they lost their strain, they were no longer able to get the same medicine that they wanted, and they weren't able to replicate the same relief that they were able to get. And so then you have to go out and try and find that again, and that's not always an easy thing to do.
Eric, back to the process, if I could. We're looking at pictures of a marijuana grow farm, I think taken by the Telegraph, so who knows where it's from. But that's not what people are going to see when they pass the manufacturing site in Wallkill. It's completely different, isn't it?
Correct. It looks like an orchid farm with a horse barn next to it. And in fact, the facility is wonderful, not only for the land and where we're at, but security-wise as well. It actually sits in a valley, so from the street, you don't see anything. You're going to see a cupola off in the distance, which we love.
Yeah.
And so, you know, on the outside, it's not going to look like what we're seeing there.
And it's greenhouses. It's not where their cannabis is not being grown in a field.
Yeah.
And so that means, from a security standpoint, if there are any concerns that, you know, my 15-year-old kid's going to be able to jump the fence and make off with a couple of plants and have a good old time, that's not.
Not at all. And there's natural security as well as perimeter security. Our chief security officer, John Cutter, he's the former head of the counterintelligence unit for the NYPD. So he's very familiar with securing things like the Republican National Convention and that kind of stuff. So he has created an entire plan, a life cycle throughout our complete operation of security. And so it will be the most secure facility out there.
Okay, I have so many more questions about this process. I hope you can stay and talk with me a little bit more on the web. Can you both stay?
Sure.
All right, terrific. Eric Holling, Eileen Konieczny, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
Our conversation continues online. Just head to fios1news.com/Lower Hudson Valley. Find the tab that says Programs and then click on Newsbreakers.